Hey, this is Justin. Not really used to being behind the camera here, but thought I would kind of share some of my knowledge and experience with my 2016 Spark EV. I bought mine a while back, I guess, in late summer this last year, end of 2019, end of summer 2019, and my interest was really peaked with Teslas. I think those are really cool. The biggest problem, and I think a big inhibiting thing for a lot of people, is just the price points. Even used ones are holding their value really well, which is tough if you're trying to get into one in the first place. So I did a lot of shopping around, looked for something that was going to be under $10,000, and a little bit hard to find, to tell you the truth, but a few kind of floated up to the top. There's kind of the Fiat 500e, which I kind of had a problem with the build quality. I'm not sure I'd buy a Fiat. And then there's things like the Golf, the e-Golf from Volkswagen. Range seemed to be kind of limited on those, and I found that the price point was higher than what I wanted to pay. I couldn't really find anything under $10,000 at the time. And then the car that kept coming back up in my searches was this Chevy Spark EV. They only made a few thousand of them, as far as I know, from 2014 to 2016, but I investigated a lot. Some of the high points of the Spark that I really like are the instant torque. I think this 2016 makes 327 pound-feet of torque, which is really great. It's really quick. It's fun to drive, even for what should be an economy car. So I like the punch of it, and then the price point was sweet. I think I got into mine for about $8,500 when I picked it up, with about $36,000 or 36,000 miles off a lease. As a lot of you know, they only sold these. They were kind of compliance cars for GM, and so they really only sold in Oregon and California. As you can see, there's trees out here. I live in a different part of the country. I live up in Montana, southwestern Montana, and electric cars are just not really much of a thing here. You see a few Teslas driving around here and there. Some of the wealthier folks have those, but EVs in general are just a totally new concept. So mine comes with it came with the DC fast charging option, which is definitely something I would recommend you get. We only have one DC fast charger where I live, in Missoula, at the Super Walmart. So I've gotten to use that a couple times, and that's been really cool. Where was I going with that? Oh, I guess the point is the infrastructure out here is just not very built out. You can help yourself a lot, though, if you're an EV owner, just by installing a level 2 charger at your house. That's what we've done with our new place that we're in now, and I've been really happy with it. You get a good charge in 4 to 6 hours, depending on what your charge level's at when you plug in at night. Today I went on a little bit of a road trip, because I think one thing I was looking for when I was shopping for one of these was I wanted to know, they're rated for 82 miles, but it's like, what does that mean in real world? What does that really look like? So my car's got 40,000 miles now, so it does have some battery degradation. As far as I can tell, it's probably about 20% degraded, maybe 15 to 20%. I'm not really sure. So I'm definitely down off of that 82 miles on a charge. That said, I think like during the summer, I was able to get 80 to 90 sometimes if I wasn't running AC, and was kind of taking it easy on the throttle and such. During the winter, though, it definitely takes a hit. I would say that my range during the winter's been 50 to 55 miles, and can even get worse than that if you're like really cold. When it was right around 30 to 35 degrees, I would consistently get about 55 miles. So I think that was kind of a good measure for that. Now that it's warming up a little bit, our standards are a little different than probably most of you all, but it's up to 50 degrees today, which is a warmer day for us. Sweatshirt weather, no doubt. Maybe t-shirt weather if you get a little bit of sun. So I wanted to go for a little drive and just kind of test some real world range, as far as not so much driving in town where the Spark kind of shines, but more like a road trip type scenario, which you wouldn't be able to road trip very far, but wanted to give you an idea. So today, took it out and drove towards Lolo, and then out towards Lewiston, Idaho, from where I live. and didn't want to get down too far because I didn't want to run out. You know, we don't have any, like I said, the charging infrastructure is really poor around here, so there really isn't any good places to fill up your car or charge your car. No level 2s out here, definitely no DC fast charging, level 3 type stuff. So if I got stuck anywhere like at a gas station, I would just be stuck plugging in my portable charger and doing the old 120 volt routine, which is, if you're an electric car person, you know that's painfully slow. So you don't want to get caught doing that if you don't have to. So to kind of get to the numbers here, I started out, reset my odometer here, and had a full charge at the top of the trip, and this is where I sit right now. So as you can see here, 28.6 miles into the trip, getting about 4.7 miles per kilowatt hour, which is all right. I've been doing about, it's been a mix of speed, anywhere from 35 miles an hour all the way up to, I was doing 70 briefly, down to 65, and then for most of this I've done about 50 miles an hour just to kind of try to extend the range a little bit, because you really start to hit a wall once you get up past 55 to 60, that the charge really comes off the battery in a hurry, just for the wind resistance, tire resistance. I've got studless winter tires on here too, so that's not helping me. I'm not running any, I'll give you a look at my other screen here. Haven't run any climate control at all. It's comfortable in here for me. So as you can see there, not using anything in the climate settings, and the battery's not having to be conditioned because it's not cold enough to really have to do that. So 100% of my charge that I've used so far, that 44% you see at the top, has been used strictly for driving. So as you'll notice, I did only take it down to, I've only used 44%. I'm doing an exact round trip because I'm heading back the exact same route that I came down. So didn't want to get shortchanged on the how many miles I could do here. So I think I do have a slight downhill coming back the other way. So I'll update once I get back to the house, get plugged in, and I'll kind of give you some final numbers and maybe some observations there at the end as well. Here's the old Spark. Got her cleaned up a couple days ago, so she's looking all right. Early March here in Montana and Idaho, so still got a lot of snow on the ground. So as we're kind of cruising back here slowly towards Missoula, I'm realizing that there's a lot of downhill on this section going back, which means there was a lot of uphill. So that 28 and change for miles that I got going up that way, it's looking like I'll be able to do a lot more and a lot better coming back down. That is one advantage of EVs, is they really do take advantage of declines in the road. So when you're going downhill, it'll either help you charge up or whatever, or in this case, like as I'm kind of cruising at a decent rate, by kind of cruising downhill a little bit, it's only using 5 or 6 kilowatts at any given time. So I think I'll see some pretty good numbers coming back down here. Okay, so we made it back to the house with no problem. As I mentioned while we were kind of on the road there, that trip was a lot more downhill on the way back, so a little bit of a hill climb going up, which I didn't totally realize since it was relatively gradual, but even a gradual climb can have a pretty big impact on small EVs like this, so it's a good lesson in that. So here are kind of our final numbers: 57.2 miles total traveled. As you can see, the miles per kilowatt hour went up significantly coming back to the house. Car still thinks we've got 22 miles left, so that gives you a total distance available of just under 80 miles, 79 miles, which is pretty good and way better than what I was kind of expecting for a day like today. And then on our other screen here, the kind of final numbers here as well: 72% of the battery used, and that's 10.1 kilowatt hours used. So if I'll divide that out and let you know what that comes to as far as total capacity. So after doing the quick math on that, basically my total rated available capacity for this battery, since it is a little degraded, is about just a little bit over 14 kilowatt hours. So when this car was first manufactured, I think the expectation was it would probably have like between 17.5 and 18 kilowatt hours available to it. So when it first rolled off the factory line, you know, it probably would have done better, which is pretty incredible. So since we, you know, with these, looking at these numbers again, we were able to do almost 79 miles on a pretty heavily degraded battery. So, you know, when this thing was brand new on a trip like that, you know, probably could have pushed closer to 90 miles, 95 miles even. So pretty impressive. So here's the Spark back at home sweet home base here. One of the things I was most excited about as we got into our new house, and I need to hang this up, looks like garbage right now, but one of the things I was most excited about was getting a level 2 charger ripping in here. So this is just the, this is a Zencar level 2 charger, as you can see there, I think the 16P. That model, I think, indicates that it can push, well, you can see it in the spec, it pushes 16 amps, so nothing crazy, but that is actually all this car can take with the built-in inverter. So it can draw about 3.3 kilowatts at a given time, so not as good as 6.6, did wish it had that, but you know, if you're plugging in every night, not a big deal anyways, and this is able to draw a pretty good charge, so I'm happy with it. So if you're curious, like I was when I was looking at a Spark, so with that level 2 charger, you just saw me plug in, I just checked the charge level and confirmed that it is at 28%. You could see on the dash that it had used 72%, so there's 28% left in the pack, about a quarter of it. And I just checked the time till a full charge, and it says 5:45. It's 1:45 right now. So at that 3.3 kilowatt charge rate, it'll take 4 hours for it to replace those about 3/4 of the battery that were depleted during that trip. Thanks for coming along with me on that road trip. I just kind of wanted to give an idea again of kind of real world range, like what is it really like to drive a small electric vehicle like that. It's not as scary as you might think it is. It's really pretty cool. A few kind of stats I wanted to wrap up with here that were kind of interesting. Doing a little bit of the hill climb, I did have a worse efficiency, so I only got 4.7 miles per kilowatt hour used, which is actually still pretty strong. Again, I only did about, probably averaged only about 50 miles an hour going up, so really not pushing the car very much. If you get up higher in an EV, especially smaller ones, the range really drops in a hurry. So if I was doing 60 or even 70 would have crushed that battery pretty bad. So 50 miles an hour is a little bit of a sweet spot, even though it is slower. I was on a slow going road with not a lot of people on it, which was nice today, so that helped me out. So 4.7 going up, and by the time we came back to the house, I was averaging all the way up to 5.7 miles per kilowatt hour. So that downhill coming back, even though it was slight, helped a considerable amount to eke out as much mileage as we could there. So going up, we took 44% of the battery capacity, and then coming back, it only took 28% of the total battery capacity. So once again, a lot more efficient coming down the mountain, so to speak. One last kind of crazy point I wanted to give you here is just the cost effectiveness of electric vehicles. This is a really small example. This is a microcosm, but if you multiply this out over the long term, say you had a commute every day or whatever, you could see some significant savings here using a car like the Spark. So that was a 57.2 mile trip. And even, so we have pretty cheap electricity here. It's 6.66, kind of an ominous number. 6.66 cents per kilowatt hour in our area. So even if you take into account that the Spark only probably charges at about 85% efficiency, that 57 mile trip only costs 79 cents in electricity or fuel used, so to speak. If you did the same trip in a car that even got like 26 miles to the gallon, something like that, even with today's low gas prices, you're probably looking at a $4.50 to $5 for that same trip. So significant savings. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm definitely looking forward to making more of them. Just kind of want to inform people about my experience with the small electric vehicle. I know there's a lot of uncertainty, especially in our area. You just don't really see a lot of electric vehicles in Montana. And so I just wanted to shed some light, hopefully educate a little bit, and happy to hear any of your questions you might have maybe in the comments. And yeah, I'm sure we'll have more videos to come, so stay tuned.